everyone, welcome. Diana Lidstone here, the Biz Grow Master, and I have an amazing guest for you today. Welcome, Bri Seeley.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is awesome. So the topic today is how to become the top ranked expert in your industry. And I'm just going to share a little bit about Bri. I met her, I believe, through Podapalooza. And I was a guest on her podcast, but she is a multiple award-winning coach. She's an author, a podcast host, an amazing business coach. I've been on a couple of her webinars, and as I said, a fellow member of the F Club, because we kind of like to drop these bombs every once in a while. But I'm, knowing from her previous webinars that I've been on, I know that this is going to be some great information for you. She's going to talk about, if I'm not mistaken, SEO, search engine optimization, and how it can be a key component to you getting found on the internet. Because guess what, guys? If you can't get found, you won't get chosen. So welcome, Bri.
Thank you. Yes, if people don't know you exist, they cannot hire you.
Exactly. So
we always want to make it as easy as possible for people to find you so that you can get hired.
So you have done this because are you going to talk about this in your present? Okay.
I think a little bit. We can preface it a little bit. So I had not SEO'd. I'd done some things leading up to it. A girlfriend of mine was in marketing and she was like, hey, increase your domain authority, do this, 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 and this. I was like, okay, great, whatever. And in 2019, a friend called me and was like, did you know that you're ranking for the words entrepreneur coach on Google? And I was like, no. He's like, you're clearly not trying to. I said, no. And he's like, what if you were to try? And so overnight, I went from position 16 on Google to position 1. And I was sitting down to lunch with someone yesterday and he Googled entrepreneur coach. Yeah. So when we say SEO, like obviously if I Google Diana Lidstone, Diana's website is going to come up, right? Yeah. But if I Google Biz Grow Master, and also is that something people are going to be Googling, right? So like people are looking for entrepreneur coaches. And so they're searching entrepreneur coach, or they're searching business coach in New York, and these are all terms that I rank for and ways people find me on the internet, because when someone's searching for something, you want to be the search result. So I will say just up front, and I think I address this in here too, is one of the factors that goes into this, unfortunately, is also time. So this is it was an overnight thing for me, but also because I'd started doing some stuff on the back end previously. This is a long game strategy. This is not going to revolutionize your business tomorrow strategy. This is a 5-10 years into the future. Thank God I did that back then strategy.
Awesome. And, I think the other thing is that, unfortunately, people are looking for the easy button, and that doesn't happen so much. But I also want to talk, because I think SEO gets a bad rap. I'll preface that. Coaches, consultants, and, the people that I work with, the people you work with, often think of SEO and they go, that's all complicated. I don't know what to do, etc. But I have a feeling that today you're going to simplify that for us.
I am. I'm not gonna sugarcoat things. I'm gonna give everyone a lot of information. Good. But most of it's pretty simple to implement. And it's honestly stuff that you should have on your website anyways. So I'm gonna give you guys some stuff to do now. I'm gonna give you guys some stuff to do in the future. I'm gonna go fairly quickly through most of it. So if you need to watch this a few times or revisit things, I've also broken it down into 3 different sections. So you want to do section 1 first, section 2 second, section 3 third. My motto in life is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So make sure that you're just focused on what you need to focus on first, and second and third. Don't get overwhelmed by the whole process. You don't need to do section 3 until you're there. Just focus on one step at a time, one bite at a time. You're going to get through this. You don't have to do it all tomorrow, and it is going to help you.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. I think we talk the same language. I'm all about simplifying things step by step, reverse engineering. And so, yeah, I think this will fit very well with, yeah, with what we
Awesome.
do. Good. All
Cool.
right. So away she goes.
Awesome. Okay. So SEO, we've already done that. So this is me. I am the entrepreneur coach. I have 14 years of experience. I do a combination of inner alignment with outer strategy. And that's that. This is a client of mine. She started ranking for New York City Harpist, and she actually got reached out to, I think it was by like Macy's or something, to play at one of their events. This is one of my former clients. She's a child-free coach, #1 on Google. And then this is, I forget who this is, but this is the increase in views and actions that people took. I think this was just, within like the first month or so of doing this work. So again, warning, they're not overnight results here. This is not a silver bullet strategy, but it is stuff that you definitely want to have in your business. So why is SEO important? First off, only 17% of business owners are doing this. So you would be definitely in the top echelon of entrepreneurs if you're doing this. 2, SEO has a formula. Social media does not. We are always at the mercy of Zuckerberg's and all the other like guys' algorithms and whatever's. SEO is generally very clear. They are changing it a little bit, but it's actually making it better and easier. And then, of course, 3, it's going to provide increased organic traffic to your website. So here's what we're going to go over today. We're going to go over the ingredients you need for an effective SEO strategy, what to do to optimize SEO on your website, developing and executing that strategy for every single page on your site. So we're going to talk at a website level, we're going to talk at a page level, and then we're going to talk about how to optimize your site on the World Wide Web. So on a website, on a internet level. So website, page, and internet are the 3 things we're really going to talk about today. And then I'm going to have some continued actions for you moving forward as well. Again, it's super important, one step at a time. Don't get overwhelmed. There's a lot of information in here. You can do it, I promise. All right, let's learn quickly what contributes to how Google kind of like ranks websites, how Google knows which websites are more important than the other websites to put some websites first, some second, some third, some on page 50, right? We want to make sure we know the ingredients. So first ingredient, domain authority. Google scores every single website on the internet from a 0 to a 100. If you just bought your domain authority yesterday or last week or last month, you're going to have a 0 domain authority. If you are a website such as Facebook or Google or Yelp or Instagram or one of those, you're going to have a domain authority of 100. I currently am at around, I think, a 35 or a 36. And I'll give you some tools to look and see where you're at. And then everything we're doing today is also actually going to help your domain authority increase. So say, for example, you have 2 websites, both trying to rank for the same thing. One happens to have a higher domain authority than the other one. It's likely that that one's going to rank higher on Google than the lower one because it simply has a higher domain authority. Now, one of the things that contributes to domain authority, like I mentioned earlier, is time. So I've had my website, briseeley.com. I think I bought it in 2007. So I've had it for a long time, which helps cement that it's a legit website. There's a few other things we'll go into as well. Consistent long form content. If you do not yet have a blog on your website, you definitely want to start one. And you want to make sure that the topics you are writing about on your blog are related to and using similar wording as what you're trying to rank for. Backlinks are when another website points to and hyperlinks to your website. So when you have a website that has a higher domain authority than you, like Instagram or Facebook, and they link to your website, it actually increases your ranking on Google. And then again, site and page optimization, which we're going to go into, and then closed circuit links. So we'll get into these a little bit more as well, but essentially closed circuit links, if you were on a press outlet, say a podcast, and that podcast points to your website, usually they have like notes and things like that, right? And they say, oh, visit, www.briseeley.com, right? So that website is pointing to my website. I have a page on my website that includes all of my links that people like, where websites are pointing to me. I then point back to their website. So it creates a closed circuit. So if one website is pointing to another website, Google's like, okay, cool. If that same website is pointing back to you and you create that closed loop, Google's like, oh, this is legit. So you want to make sure that you also have a place on your website that is essentially pointing back to any and all press mentions, podcast interviews, places that you've been mentioned, your website has been mentioned or linked to. You want to make sure you have a place where you're linking back to their website as well. All right, finding your keywords. So a lot of people think that their keywords are what they do, right? So for example, for me, entrepreneur coach, that's what I do. That's what my keyword is. I also rank for a lot of other things. That's my primary one. But the one thing that I say to people a lot is, what is your customer searching for? Say it's 3 a.m. They're laying in bed. They're wide awake. They cannot sleep. They grab out their phone to open Google. What are they looking for? So the one I like to use is, say someone is just stressed out and can't sleep. They can't figure out why they're having insomnia. Say you're a meditation teacher. You probably don't necessarily want to try to rank your website for meditation teacher, because what happens is that person that can't sleep at 3 a.m. probably doesn't know that meditation is the answer to their problem, right? If they knew meditation was the answer to their problem, they'd be doing it already and they wouldn't be awake in the middle of the night. So you have to think towards, am I trying to rank for the solution, or am I trying to rank for the problem? And that's something that kind of only you can know, and or if you're working with a business coach, they can probably help you with that as well. But you want to know, like, is my customer Googling the solution or is my customer Googling the problem? If they're Googling the problem, you don't want your keywords that you focus on to be the solution, because you're not going to get found. If they're searching insomnia and your keywords are meditation, they're not going to find you. If they're searching meditation and your keyword's meditation, great, they're going to find you. If they're searching insomnia, your keywords need to be around insomnia, right? So you need to know if your person's Googling the problem or the solution. And then keyword planners. So you want to find that grouping of 2 to 3 words that your person is looking for that's going to help them find you, right? So again, for me, it's entrepreneur coach. That's what people are searching for, that I pop up as. That's where the majority of my clients come from. So when you figure out what your key terms are, maybe you have 5, maybe you don't know, you want to go onto a keyword planner like Ubersuggest, Google Ads, or SEMrush to find out both the search volume of the, that is not working at all, the search volume of the key terms and the competition level. So you want to try to find something that has around a medium search volume, but a semi-low competition level. So for example, if you have a domain authority of like 2 to 10, and you're trying to rank for a key term like entrepreneur coach that has a high search volume and a high competition, your website is going to be left in the dust. There's no way you're going to rank for those words, right? So you want to make sure there is a medium search volume, because if people aren't searching for those key terms, why would you want those key terms? No one's searching for them. But you also want to make sure that you have a semi-low competition, because especially if your website isn't super strong yet, You don't want to be competing with the Facebooks and the Yelps and the Googles of the world, because again, you're going to be left in the dust. So you want to try to find a combination of key terms that has that kind of medium search volume, but low competition. And all three of these resources here are going to have those metrics on them for the key terms that you're trying to look for.
Yeah, I think, Bri, it's really, you and I are in the business coaching realm, and there are a lot of industries that are really highly competitive. So can you give them a hint as to how they could narrow down these, or are you going to talk about that later? So
no, I can talk about it now. So I think the biggest thing would be to really identify, like, what is your USP? What is the thing that makes you stand out? If you're a business coach, is it business coaching for women? Is it business coaching for creatives? Is it business coaching for insert qualifier here, right? So again, that like business coach is going to have a high search volume, but also a really high competition. So then you want to start looking at, okay, what are ways that I can keep, a good amount of that competition, or sorry, that search volume, but lower that competition. So qualifiers like, business coach in New York, business coach in Chicago, business coach for women, for service coaches, for whatever, like that stuff is really going to help you kind of like whittle away some of that competition.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. And then the other thing you want to make sure of is that you have different yet similar keywords for every single page on your site. So I have an entire document that details out every single page on my site. And for, my main one, it's entrepreneur coach. For some of the other ones, it's like business growth strategies. For some of the other ones, it's like entrepreneur coach for women. And so like, they're all within the same realm, but they're all a little bit differently, because what happens is you don't want every single one to be aiming at the same thing, because then your website is literally competing with itself. Okay. All right, so your to-do from this section, making it super easy for you. One, you want to map out the keywords for every page and blog on your site, and you want to use those tools that I shared with you to make sure that it has a medium search volume and a low competition. Once you know the keywords for your pages, then we can go out and implement it. All right, so let's talk about on-site optimization. So this is, like I talked before, there's your website, your pages, and the internet. So let's talk about your website. You want to make sure that your key terms are in the title of your website. This is in the basic settings of your website, whether you're on WordPress or Squarespace or Wix or any of them, there is a settings page and you get to set what your title is. Now, if your name is a big part of your business, you probably want your name in there. And then again, here's a really good example. If Jane Smith were to just try to rank for real estate, she would have a hell of a time ranking for the words real estate. San Antonio real estate, however, way more niche and like speaks more directly to who she serves as a client, right? So you want to make sure your title speaks to your key term. So this is her key term, San Antonio real estate. Then you also want to make sure the description for your website says real estate, San Antonio, real estate, San Antonio. So it's got your key terms in the description as well. You also want to make sure somewhere on your website that there is a location and a phone number. If you don't have a phone number, get a Google Voice number. You don't have to put your personal phone number on your website, but this is going to help with another strategy that we're going to talk about a little bit later. And again, with location, if you don't want to put your home address, totally cool. You don't have to put your home address, at least put city and state. Okay. So you want to make sure your location and phone number. I do this in my footer so that it just automatically shows up on every single page on my website. Don't even have to think about it. Cool. And then you want to make sure you have a press or mentions page. I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, a page where you can dump all of the places that you've been featured on or interviewed on or mentioned on web pages around the internet. So again, title and description. Mine has, entrepreneur coach here, entrepreneur coach, Bri Seeley, talking about growing your business. Again, in the footer, you want to make sure that you have phone number, locations, all of that good stuff. And then the press or mentions page where you just have listed all of the places that have links to your website that you can then link back to their website. Okay. So to do, you want to complete your on-site optimization. You want to take care of your title, your description for your entire website, and then also make sure that you develop a press or mentions page and then put your location and phone number in the footer. All right, let's talk about page optimization. So this gets back a little bit to what we were talking about with the key terms. So you sat down, you identified every page on your website, you identified the key terms that go along with every page on your website. Now we have to take those key terms and apply them to each of those pages of your website, okay? So your website optimization, you're just going to do once. Your page optimization, you're going to do for every single page on your website. Again, if you have 100 pages on your website, you don't have to do all of them tomorrow. Start with 2. Do 2 this week. Do 2 next week. Do 2 the week after. By the end of the year, we'll have them all done, okay? So here's what goes into, this is like the formula for what you want to make sure happens on every single page. Every single page, you want to make sure that you have a 1 to 2% keyword density. So what does that mean? For every 100 words on that page, you want that key term to be on there once. So for my page, my entrepreneur coach page, for every 100 words, the term entrepreneur coach is in there at least once, or once to twice, 1 to 2 times. If you have 1,000 words on that page, you want to make sure your keyword is in there 10 to 20 times, okay? You also want to go in the back end, every single image that you have on that page, you want the alt text of that image to be your key terms. So when you go to my entrepreneur coach page, every image that you see on that page, on the back end, you don't see it from the front end, but on the back end, it says entrepreneur coach. The next thing is you want to have both an inbound link and an outbound link. So an inbound link is a link on that page that links to another page on your website. So on my, I think, entrepreneur coach page, I have a link to my Meet Bri page. Seamlessly just take someone to another page on my website. Really easy, right? You also want to have a link that takes someone off of your website. So for example, all of my application forms go through Google Forms. So every single click here to apply button on my website goes off of my website. It goes to a different website. Oh, and then actually it's not the about me. I have a free opt-in on every single one of my pages. So I have a free opt-in that is hosted on my website. So every single page has a link to a free opt-in that's also on my website. So you want a link to a page on your website and a link to a page that's not on your website. You also want to make sure that the URL slug has these key terms in it. So what does that mean? That when you type in www.briseeley.com, the page that I rank for first on Google, the handle is briseeley.com/entrepreneur-coach. So if your key terms that you're using, like we were talking about earlier, Jane Smith, San Antonio Real Estate, her website might be janesmith.com/San-Antonio-Real-Estate, right? So whatever those keywords are, the ones where I'm ranking like business coaches in New York, briseeley.com/business coaches in New York, right? With dashes in between every word. You want to make sure the slug is there. Again, the page title, every page title, that page, you go to it, it says Entrepreneur Coach Bri Seeley. Page description, you saw Bri Seeley, the entrepreneur coach, right? You want to make sure that those that key term is everywhere. Now, like I said, that's for my entrepreneur coach page. So you have your one page that's the one key term. You want to do this separately for the next page that's a different key term, and the next page that's a different key term, and the next page that's a different key term, until you've gone through all of your pages on your website, okay? If you want a really easy way to do this, like I mentioned before, pull up a table on Excel, type the page, the key term you're using, what the inbound link on that page is going to be, what the outbound page link on that page is going to be, what your URL slug is, what your page title, what your description, just map it all out. And then go through, and once that page is done, turn that row green, do the next one, turn that row green, do the next one, turn that row green. It just super easy. And then you're just, yeah, you're just taking it one bite at a time, and that's it.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right. So I am not going to do a demo for you guys today, but if anyone wants access to the demo, just message Diane. Diane, I can get you the demo. And it just shows me going through. I will say, if you have WordPress, WordPress is the best platform for SEO. So if you have WordPress, amazing. You want to go do number 2 on here, download the Yoast plugin for WordPress. It is going to make this so simple for you. It literally will tell you like red, yellow, and green. Red, your page is not SEO optimized at all. Yellow, you're almost there, and here's the few things you have left to do. And green, you are good to go. Your page is optimized. Move on to the next one.
I love this because, you know, I don't come from a techie generation. That's what I was going to say. And, but as you're talking, I'm thinking, you know, you have explained this so simply that I'm going to cheat a little. I'm going to give this to my VA and say, here you go, right? Here's the job for you. Whenever you have spare time for me, this is what you can do. And so I know many of the listeners here aren't going to do it themselves, but it's really a great job for, you know, a VA who is, you know, tech savvy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say too, like the thing I would do is probably say like, okay, here's 50 different ideas for key terms that I'm thinking about. Go do the research about search frequency and competition, and just show me, because on those websites it shows numbers. It's like, oh, this is a 63 out of 100 for search competition. Oh, this one's a 23 out of 100 for search competition, right? So they're gonna give you all the numbers, and then you can go through and then say, okay, this page needs to be this one, this page needs to be this one, this page needs to be this one, and then give them this, and then they should be able to go in and execute it. And honestly, Yoast, if you have WordPress, Yoast is the best. It makes things so simple. If you don't have WordPress, Squarespace is the next best option. Squarespace has some excellent SEO tutorials in their help center. So if you go into their help center and search SEO, it will walk you through how to do all of this on their platform as well. It's great. Wix is the least best. I didn't want to say the worst, but if you're on Wix, maybe in the next year or so, just like make a plan, consider leaving Wix. Bless Wix. They have their place and their purpose. If you're looking to do SEO, it is not the place. So if you can get off there, do it. But I highly recommend. So it was when I switched from Squarespace to WordPress, I was ranking 14th on Squarespace. And literally the second I hit publish on my website on WordPress, I jumped to position 1. Now, there was a lot more that went behind that. It wasn't, again, time, all of that stuff. But that's the power of WordPress over Squarespace. So, all right, your to-do for this one. Again, complete your page optimization for every page and every blog on your website. Okay. And again, spreadsheet it out, make it super easy for yourself, hand it off to someone, delegate it, do what you need to do, but get it done. All right, so we've talked about your website, we've talked about your pages. Let's talk about the greater internet, the World Wide Web. So there's a few things that you can do to help your website rise in the rankings that don't involve directly your website. So the first one is Google Places. If you do not yet have Google Places, you need to get one. The good news is Google Places used to only be, you could only do it if you had a physical address. Now you do not have to display your physical address on your listing. So your address does not have to be all over the internet. It's great. So if you go to business.google.com, you can register it there. Same thing, you want to make sure you have a Yelp. I am a huge Yelp user, love Yelp. I have them for my business. I don't use them for my business, but it's a little hack in that Yelp has 100 domain authority. And if Yelp is pointing at your website, it just helps your website just get a little bit stronger. Same with Google Places. So with both Google Places and Yelp, you want to make sure that you do something similar that you did to your website title. So if your website title is Jane Smith, San Antonio Real Estate on your website, you want to make sure that on your Google Places and your Yelp, that your name is Jane Smith, San Antonio Real Estate, right? You want to make sure it is consistent across everything. I will even drop down to that very last one and tell you that social media is becoming even more more powerful than Google is. TikTok just surpassed the number of searches per month that Google has. So you also want to make sure to go into Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. I need to update the slide deck and make sure that all of your names on there also say Jane Smith, San Antonio Real Estate. You want everything on every site all across the board to be consistent, to have your key terms in it, and whatever the title that you chose for your website to be on Google Places, Yelp, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, all the places, everywhere.
One of the things, and I'm sure you found this, you meet somebody, let's say at a networking event, and you go on, I'll say Facebook for the time being, you go on Facebook or even LinkedIn to find them. You can't find them because they've used not just a different business name, but a different personal name. And I go, how can anybody find you, right? Let's say,
everything. My name on Instagram is not Bri Seeley. It's Bri Seeley, Entrepreneur Coach. My name on LinkedIn, my first name on LinkedIn is Bri Seeley. My last name is the Entrepreneur Coach. Like everything, everywhere on the internet, everywhere, because that consistency alerts Google to let them know that this is who you are, over and over and over and over again. Might feel like beating a dead horse, but you have to do it. And then I will even go as far to say, relating to that, my photo on every single platform, for the most part, my Facebook one I changed, but needs to be changed back, is also all the same image. So people know when they find me, and it's the same image that's also on my website. They know that when they find me, that's me, and it's just consistent all across the board.
Good, thank you.
Yep. All right, so you want to submit to Google Places and Yelp. You can also, I will tell you, on Google Places now, you can do more than one search area. So like I have a client whose search area on Google Places is the entire United States. Yeah. So you can choose your search area, and you can basically serve, because his business, is virtual. My business is virtual. Yeah. So you don't feel like you're being boxed in by putting a location on Google. You can choose the entire United States. All right, let's talk about, so the Google Search Console, Google Index, and Bing Webmaster Tools. You want to make sure that you are submitting your website to be indexed and crawled by the search engine crawler things. I don't know what they're called. So basically, Google and Bing essentially send these things out to crawl the internet and find all of the web pages and all of the sites and all of everything. And they somehow organize all of every page, every web page, every website, everything on the internet. You want to make sure you submit it to them so that they find your website. If Google and Bing don't know that your website exists, then it's not going to show up on search rankings. Okay. You also want to download Google Analytics, because the fun part becomes, if you look at your analytics now without SEO, this was one of the graphs that I showed early on, you can then start tracking. Okay, where am I ranking? How am I ranking? How many views am I getting? How many visits am I getting? How many people are clicking on my links? And you can literally start watching all of your metrics growing and see what's working and what's not working. Where are you ranking? Where are you not ranking? And then, so back to socials, you also want to make sure you have your website on every social platform. Again, not like all of them: TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of them all have very high domain authorities. You want to make sure that your website, and I will say, if you have a link in bio, one, stop fucking paying for it. Build it on your website. Why are you sending people to go to someone else's website? Build it on your website. Mine is briseeley.com/free resources. And that's where I update and keep all my free resources. And then, by the way, someone does that, they're on my website. They can very easily, conveniently click services. They can very easy and conveniently click testimonials. They can peruse my entire site. So don't lose your real estate by sending someone to someone else's website. You're literally shooting yourself in the foot on two levels. One, you're sending them to someone else's website. And two, all the domain power and strength from all those social media sites is now not directing at your site, it's directing at someone else's website. So make sure that if you're going to do something like that and have like a link tree, just build it on your website.
So quick question, let me get this clarified. So on your LinkedIn profile, are you saying that where it says bio, you've just put a link to your bio on your website?
So I'm talking more like Instagram. So on LinkedIn, if you drop a link, you can click on it. On Instagram, the only clickable link, and I think it's the same on TikTok as well, is the one that's in your bio. So you only get one link on Instagram and one link on TikTok. Okay. So a lot of people use these services called Linktree or link in bio, which takes you to a page that has like 20 different links on it, right? Which is a great idea. It makes a lot of sense. If you're posting content like, go listen to this blog, this podcast, or go read this blog that I wrote, or like all these different calls to action, it's really hard. You're then either having to change the link in your bio every single time you make a new post, which back in the day we did, or you put this singular link in and it directs to all the places. So just make sure that if you're using a link in bio or a link tree or any of those other services, again, stop paying for it. You don't need to pay for it. You already pay for your website, and to move it to your website.
Perfect. I get it. Thanks.
Cool. All right. So this is Google Places. Again, all of mine, I have multiple because I started mine in Los Angeles when I lived there. So I have business and entrepreneur coach. Make sure, again, to use your keyword in your business name. You want to link to your website from your business profile, your Google business profile. And then this is the other part I forgot to mention. Remember how I talked about those circular links? If someone links to you, you want to link back to them. So remember at the bottom of my website where it said like Tulsa, Phoenix, LA, Seattle, all of those link to my Google Places ones. So Google's linking to me, and then I'm linking back to Google, and it creates this nice closed loop system. So somewhere, again, put it in your footer. I don't care if it says your city, if it has your address or whatever, just make sure that that is hyperlinked to your Google business profile. Same with Yelp. Use your keyword in your business name, link your website from your Yelp profile, and then link your Yelp profile somewhere from your website as well. Google and Bing, Google Search Console, Squarespace, and Yoast both have this built into their interface. Bing, you do actually want to do Bing. I was looking over at my boyfriend working behind me the other day, and I was like, are you using Bing? I was like, who? Interesting. I know that people use it, but like, really? So people do still use Bing. This is the website address to do it, bing.com/toolbox/webmaster. And the instructions on how to verify your Bing are in the help section. Again, Google Analytics, you can see this was the same 8-month period of time. So I went from 3,600 to 4,500. My bounce rate went, so bounce is when someone gets to your website and then like leaves. My bounce rate went from 60% down to 2%. So you can like just really track and look and see like what's happening with your numbers and how people are sticking around. And then setting up your Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok. All right, to do, complete your offsite optimization. And so that is the majority of it. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more just to give you some things to like, once you're done with this, some things. So the other thing about SEO is that it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. I put out one SEO blog a week on my website. So you want to make sure to continue this work even once you've set all of the things that are there. So that's what I'm going to go into next. But before I do that, just recapping, we talked about doing your site optimization. That was your first to do. We talked about doing your page optimizations. That was your second to do. We talked about doing your offsite optimizations. That was your third to do. Okay. This is extra bonus stuff. Don't have to think about it yet. Put it on your like back burner, come back to it at some point. Again, you don't have to do it tomorrow, but also it's something that you need to be aware of. So again, consistent long form new content, monitoring broken links. So if there was a website that was linking to you and they somehow are no longer linking to you, you want to make sure that that's deleted from your mentions page. You also want to make sure that if you had a page on your website and you deleted it, that you like things aren't linking to it, that people aren't coming to that page, and then, you know, given like a this page doesn't exist message, things like that. Continued link building, and then moz.com. So let's talk quickly about consistent long form new content. You ideally, depending on how serious you want to be about this stuff, 1 to 3 times a week. I do once a week. It is just capacity and resources. If you have the ability to be doing it 3 times a week, great. Oh, that's actually a lie. So I do 1 blog a week and I do 1 podcast a week. So I actually do 2 a week.
Yeah.
That does.
I love this because, you know, you're talking about consistency, and so often I broken record time again, right? It's got to be consistent, and yeah, at least once a week. And so I know that there are so many people out there that are not doing any. So let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're not doing any long form content. I don't know about you, but I usually say, okay, let's start with once a month and then go to twice a month and then go, you know, it's like start building those muscles, because it really is about building muscles. Yeah.
Well, and let's take it a step deeper too and talk about why this is important, right? You want Google to know that your website is active. You want Google to know that your website's not dead. If you just have a static website that never changes, Google is going to think that it's an illegitimate website and that it's just dead. So having consistent long form new content lets Google know that it's active, that you're putting out new stuff, that you're still around. It's like continuing to signal them. And then also too, every time you put up new content, if you've done the Google web stuff and Bing web stuff that I told you about, Google's going to consistently be like, oh, there's something new. And it's going to consistently be like visiting your website to be pulling your new content to then be ranking it. So it is really important to have some level of consistency, because it's just going to ping Google to know that your website is still relevant.
Another question. I mean, I know what my answer is, but I'd love to hear from you. I see so many entrepreneurs who have podcasts and they're not hosting them on their website.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of it because it just easily checks this box, like super easy. You don't have to do extra new content. You can just post your episode on your website. The other thing too, similarly to like what we were talking about before, is that if you're relying on someone else's site or platform, you're literally giving your power away. Your website is your real estate. That's your place in the World Wide Web. And you can't trust, like if you're renting a house from someone, they could come by tomorrow and be like, hey, eviction notice, get out. Like we just never know what other people or other companies are going to do. So your website is yours. No one has control over that but you. So you might as well keep putting put your stuff on there and get people to go there instead of to Apple or Google or Spotify or whatever.
Yeah, I love it as the hub of all your information. And so people are coming in from all angles. So
yep. So yeah, so types, you can do a blog, you can do a podcast. Even if you are doing a podcast, I still recommend having at least 800 written words with that podcast. Unfortunately, Google is not yet at the place where it can crawl audios and videos. So you still need words with it to help you rank. And again, making sure within this, all of the same stuff that we talked about with the page optimization. So for every single podcast episode, you want your key terms in the podcast episode. You want 1 to 2% density. You want an on-site link and an off-site link. You want the title, the description, the alt images, like all of that stuff needs to be included in every blog and every podcast that you do. Monitoring broken links. So you can register at moz.com for a free account. It's gonna, when you go on there, it's gonna show you when there are broken links, when there are people who used to point to your website that stop pointing to your website that you can remove. You wanna fix any pages that don't exist anymore. The best way I recommend doing it is doing a custom 404 page. So if you go to some website on web page on my website that doesn't exist, you go to some, it's cute. It says like, oh no, we've lost the page that you're looking for. While we find it, here's some resources that might be really helpful to you. Listen to my podcast, join my online community, to register for my free opt-in, right? So like, you're not losing someone that's come to your site for a specific thing. You're saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that we lost that, but like, here's some other options for you to keep them engaged.
I love it, love it, love it.
And then as I mentioned before, you want to remove inactive press and mention links. All right, continue building links. So this is how I grew my domain authority, was through all of those podcasts, all of those press mentions, all of those TV appearances and magazine interviews and all of those things, because all those things link to my website saying this is a legit website. And then my website links back to their website, creating that closed circle loop. And so the more and more and more and more links I got, the more and more and more and more and more Google got to know like, oh, this is a legit website. Cool. So you want to be going out and doing weekly or monthly podcast guesting. You want to be contributing articles to other people's platforms where in your bio then links back to your website. If you've never heard of it, HARO means help a reporter out. There's places always looking for people to contribute their knowledge, their expertise. That's how I got on Women's Health magazine. I submitted something. I've been on Forbes because of this, like all sorts of things. And usually they will link to your website from whatever you contribute. And then press pitching. If you have something in your budget for a publicist, by all means do it. But press pitching can simply be just reaching out to all sorts of different outlets saying, here's the value I can provide to your audience. Can I do an interview? Can I do, whatever. And then when their article or interview or whatever goes out, then they generally have a go visit briseeley.com to learn more. And then that links to your website. So last but not least to do, maintain and grow your SEO. Oh, that rhymes. How cute. So this is me. If anyone wants to reach out or have any other questions. Oh, wow, I have a Clubhouse thing on here. We had to pull up a different deck because my other one wasn't working. So mostly you can find me here. You mostly can find me on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm pretty much the only Bri Seeley out there. I'm definitely the only Bri Seeley entrepreneur coach out there. So you can find me on all the places, but if anyone has any questions, Diana, I will send you that demo that I have of the optimization.
Yep.
I'm going to make a note of it now so I don't forget. And then I just really, the biggest thing, if I can impart the biggest thing to everyone, it is, and again, I might sound like a broken record, just take it one bite at a time. If this month you just want to do your site optimization, just do that. If you want to make a goal to do 1 to 2 pages on your website a week, just do that. Like, do what you can, but do it. Don't not do it because it feels overwhelming. Just break it down and take one bite at a time. Eventually you'll eat the whole elephant. A year from now, you'll come back to me and be like, oh my God, Bri, I did all the things and this is what happened. So just prioritize it, make time for it, little bites, little chunks, over and over and over again. You will get there. It will work. It will help. I promise. And then, can I share one last resource quick?
Please.
So I don't know about you guys, but I frankly just don't have time to write SEO blogs on my website. It's like the last thing on my list, and then it just doesn't get done, right? I have 8 meetings today. Like, where is it going to get done? I found this great company. It's called Ranked, RANKED, and their website is ranked.ai. You pay $99 a month, and they write through AI keyword optimized articles, long form articles for you. $99 a month. You're paying $25 per article. The one caveat I will say is, do it. You have to review them before they publish them for you. Some of them end up, it's an AI thing, right? So some of them end up sounding a little AI. Some of them pull in the wrong information from the AI. So you want to make sure that there's still the human touch, add your voice into it. I'll go in and add examples and quips and, personal things and stuff like that to make it not sound so AI-ish. But it is a great starting point. And then it takes me 5 minutes to review and add updates. And then they publish it and everything's taken care of. So it's a really good long form content option for people and honestly, $100 a month, I'm like, that, take my money, just take it. It's all yours.
So it's just interesting, AI. So where do they pull this information from? You don't know?
The founder, Harry, could probably tell you, but I didn't ask. I don't know.
Okay. But you've been using them for a while, I guess. And
yeah,
you're thrilled with them.
Yeah, I don't know. When did I start using them? Months, maybe all year. Maybe I started using them in January. It's been a while, but yeah, it's super easy. It's super quick. They're a great company. They're super nice. I refer all my clients to use them. I mean, I think it's the best. You can also hire someone. I do also have an SEO writer on my team. Who I think she charges people usually $60 to $75 per article, which again, it's like not bad for an SEO based article. But if you can't do it, honestly, find someone else to do it for you. Like, it is that important. If you can't do all the stuff for your podcast, get a virtual assistant. I do not put my podcast up on my website. Someone else does.
Yeah.
So get help, delegate out, do what you need to do. It is that important for your SEO.
This has been so valuable. Thank you, Bri, for, your time today. And, as I said, I am going to take the recording of this and send it off to my VA and say, this is our next project that we have to be working on. And because, it's just not something I have the bandwidth to do. And I'm going to, with your permission, put the content and stuff in this. I may chop it up and put it into a podcast episode. I haven't talked with my production team yet, but we'll do something like that. So thank you so much for sharing your time. I think this is really, really valuable to so many people. They just don't realize that you can do it and you don't have to do it. You can get somebody else to do it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It was so good to see you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording.